Hi. It's been a while. I know I look quite a bit different since the last time you've seen me, but I will get into all that later on in the video. There's a lot of stuff I need to go over because it's been almost a year since I posted here. My life has changed a lot, and there were some pretty good reasons I wasn't posting through it. In order to explain all this, I need to go back to June of 2024. It had been a few months since I'd quit my last job, where one of my coworkers was threatening to kill me constantly and threw a knife and a sharp chunk of wood in my general direction. For the first few months after that job, I was kind of scared to leave the house because of all the threats from him and how often that coworker would jump scare me, for lack of a better term. Anyway, in the months following me leaving that job, I slowly started to get better. I found a good pelvic floor therapist, which helped a lot. I started making videos again, and I just started doing a lot more of the things that I wanted to and needed to do. Then around June of 2024, I ended up getting another job, which also turned out to be pretty toxic. I really should have listened to everyone who told me it was a bad work environment, but I didn't because the management was really nice to me when I went in for the interview. The first months of the job went okay, aside from the constant bad mouthing between coworkers. But within a few months, things really rapidly started going downhill. One of my coworkers got immediately fired for leaving a key in the phone bank because he tried to chase after someone who was stealing from the store. Then I got threatened for missing 2 lines of products that needed stickers, even though they weren't labeled on the shelf tag, from what I could tell. That made me very annoyed, and when I went to work that night, I had built up so much anger about it that halfway through my shift, I ended up in a manic episode and started running around the store. It was at that point I realized I needed to quit that job. I also had an activity planned with my family in a couple weeks on a Monday, which is when the truck comes, so I knew I had to quit before then because she threatened to fire the last person who asked to take a Monday off. I ended up quitting that job in mid-October of 2024, and pretty quickly after I left, I took a tour of another college with my dad because he wanted me to try it out because it was closer to home and a lot cheaper. The people there were pretty kind, and the music program was actually better than the one at my old college, and so I started debating whether to switch to this college. Unfortunately, a few weeks after all that, the 2024 election happened, and that was rough for me. Although I used to be mildly conservative in the past, I'm pretty far left now. So seeing that happen was a big shock to me. It's kind of hard too, because I'm the only leftist in my family. Everyone else is right-wing or centrist at best. So that made me feel pretty alone. There was a lot of doom and gloom being spread online after the election, and for the first few days after it, I was constantly doomscrolling. I remember watching a video about how to fight fascism shortly after the election, and in the video they talk about how important it is to stay up to date with what's going on without doomscrolling, and the importance of supporting organizations that are fighting back. I wanted to do my part, and so because of that, I ended up subscribing to a lot of independent progressive news channels so I could, keep up to date with what was going on. That kind of ended up flooding my feed with their videos, which became problematic later on. Fortunately, between November and December, the news was relatively calm, and I didn't really have much of a problem with doom scrolling until January of 2025. Side note, but I was also dealing with some bad body dysmorphia around late 2024, so I decided to grow out a mustache and attempted to grow a beard since I wasn't happy with myself anyway. I had wanted to have one back when I was 15, so I figured I'd try it out for a while, but unfortunately, it made things a lot worse. Anyway, 4 days after I posted this video, I ended up getting really sick because of my older sister, and I was sick for like a month because of that. During this time, I had nothing I could do except be terminally online. Couldn't even do anything productive because of how dizzy and lightheaded I was all the time. I started feeling better for a few days, which is when I posted these 2 little meme videos that I did, before I got sick again for another 2 weeks. During this period of January, and especially the latter half of January, I was doom scrolling a lot. I didn't even realize it was a problem until the end of the month when things started getting a lot worse politically. That was when I started getting panic attacks like 3 times a day, and I couldn't watch horror stories or even play basic games without getting so stressed that I would struggle to breathe. Even after unsubscribing from most of the political channels, I found myself still doom scrolling through the news titles every few hours. Because of this, I decided to go offline for a week and a half in early February. I bought a premium subscription to an app blocker and went to stay with my older sister and her husband for a while, just to be away from home. During that period of time, I actually got a lot better. I started working on music again. I finished this cool drawing. I took some nice peaceful walks around nature, and it was overall a good experience. There were some days that I was up there that I just stared at a wall for 3 hours a day. But honestly, staring at a wall is so much more productive than doom scrolling. At least it doesn't make you feel drastically worse. My sister and her husband also eat a lot better, so that helped with my developing liver problems. I didn't want to be a burden on them for too long though, so after a week and a half, I went back home. I tried to reset my algorithms on every social media I could and unfollow some of the more doomer accounts I had been following. Unfortunately though, without the extreme blocks on my phone, I fell right back into doom scrolling. I was dealing with so much stress around this time that I ended up getting some bad liver problems and having to go on a pretty strict diet to even function. I remember being really disappointed because I wanted to make a video trying some monthly products that were going to go bad in early February, but I was too sick to even be able to eat them, so I had to give them away. My cat Gatto was also getting pretty sick around this time, which was contributing to my overall hopelessness towards life. Things got a little bit better in March, April, and May when I started working on other projects to distract myself from doom scrolling. I also started buying stuff for myself again, although I was still too depressed and overwhelmed to use most of it until months later. I even rearranged my entire room to make the focus of it music related instead of having my computer be the focus, but unfortunately that didn't do a lot for me. During those few months, I made a couple more videos, started working on gardening projects, and I also wrote my first and only poem of 2025. For context, I usually write poems about once a month, maybe once every 2 to 4 months if I'm like really busy or uninspired. My doomer mindset prevented me from writing anything more though, which kind of sucked because I tend to do better mentally when I have that outlet of writing poetry. From February onward, I was constantly going away from the internet for a week or so, only to come back and start doom scrolling again. I developed a lot of new health problems during this time, including troubles breathing, eyelid twitching, migraines from the neck, like a tight neck and shoulders, liver issues, etc. Not only was I trying to beat my doom scrolling addiction, I was trying to play whack-a-mole, trying to fix all my health issues. I also forgot to mention it, but my computer started having graphics card issues in May of 2025. And in the process of trying to fix it, I lost a bunch of files, so that made me even more discouraged from returning and making new videos. It was having some problems recently too, but I think I've gotten it fixed now. Around May, I also shaved off my mustache because I realized it was making me hate my body even more. And although it helped, I was still struggling a lot with body dysmorphia. Around June, my depression got even worse, and my doom scrolling did as well. That month, I only had like 4 days where I felt okay enough to do anything. I was also starting to develop chronic nightmares from the stress that were continually getting worse. The dreams would cycle between various dark themes too. They started with dreams of blood or just bleeding out in general. Later on, these dreams turned into me caring for different animals or people, only for them to die on my watch while there was nothing I could do about it. More recently, the dreams have been about me taking my own life, which is weird because I'm like not suicidal anymore. But yeah, they are still continually getting worse. That was around the time I realized I wasn't going to be able to get out of this on my own. So I started going to therapy again. Then in early July and early August, I had 2 different really high manic episodes that lasted for about 2 weeks each. During those episodes, I tried to stay offline as much as I could and focus all my energy on gardening stuff. I built and planted 2 new flower beds during that time. I thought about trying to make videos during this time, but decided against it because I know I probably would have ended up just doom scrolling online again, which would have made my mania even worse. In mid-July, I also went to a Good Trouble protest with like 30 other people, because it was nearby, unlike literally every other protest that year. You can actually see me on the news here. It was kind of fun. In mid to late August, though, my cat of 4 years, who had been slowly getting better thanks to this medicine I've been getting for him, disappeared. This happened within a few days after I had come out of my manic episode. Needless to say, losing that cat made me so much worse. I remember after he disappeared, I cried for like 2 weeks straight. I wanted to make a tribute video for him, but couldn't even look at old pictures and videos of him without bawling and wishing I had done more for him. Now that I'm doing better though, I do think I will make a tribute video for him. I'm hoping to get it out pretty quickly after this video goes out. He was such a sweet boy and I still miss him a lot. Because of all the stress though, my breathing problems were getting worse. There was one day in late August that my lungs got so closed off that I couldn't breathe in without coughing first. That's when my mom tried to get me to use a spare inhaler that she had to see if it helped. And I tried it and it worked, which meant that I had developed asthma from all the stress. It was around this time I decided I would rather be able to keep my ability to breathe than stay up to date with the news, so I actively tried to stop consuming news after this point. After that, in mid-September, my little sister got me a job working fast food. While it was nice to finally be earning money again, the stress of it was really hard on me. The coworkers were really good, but the boss would go on 14-paragraph rants, threatening people, so it was a lot like my last job in that way. There was one day around August to early September sometime where things kind of reached a boiling point for me emotionally. I was sick of life and couldn't handle everything that was going on, so I made a plan to end it. I told a few people I trusted what to take care of when I was gone, but didn't go into specifics on anything, so they had no idea what I was talking about. Before I actually committed to doing it though, I talked to my online friend I had at the time, and he spent like 3 hours playing games and talking to me, trying to encourage me not to do it. I had a lot of fun talking and playing games with him, so by the time morning rolled around, when I was planning to end things, I changed my mind. Realized I wouldn't be able to do anything fun like that with him again if I had died, and I knew he cared about me, and I didn't want to put him through all that pain. After that near attempt I had, things slowly started getting better. I started making progress in therapy and started doing things I actually wanted to do instead of just working on stuff to avoid doom scrolling. I applied for college again, found housing, and started working on music again. I also adopted a new cat named Socks, who sadly ran away shortly after I found an abandoned starving one named Todd. I then adopted a new one I also named Socks, so Todd could have a friend, and this one was a lot nicer anyway, so it was probably for the best the other one ran away, even if it hurt quite a bit. I also was finally able to dye my hair with the dark brown and blue streaks the way I wanted to for years, which made me really happy. You can actually see some of the blue streaks here, and then there's some here and scattered throughout too. After years of looking, I also found some herbal medicine for my bipolar that actually worked, which meant I wouldn't have to worry about mood cycles while I was at college. Unfortunately, amongst everything slowly starting to get better, I had a bad falling out with my one online friend of 4 years. He decided I was using him as a therapist and wasn't letting him talk about himself ever, despite the fact that every time I tried to talk to him about his life, he wouldn't say much and would act really distant, so I assumed he just didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to bother him with that. He also went off about how much of a burden I was on the night I almost ended my life. That really sucked because he was the only reason I stayed alive through that. The conversation probably would have sent me into another suicidal spiral, but with most everything else looking up, I wanted to try college and music again before giving up. A friend and I are currently on hiatus, but I don't know if I'll reach out again because the comments he made about me being a burden really hurt me. Maybe I just have a different mindset on things, but in the past when I would spend hours a day helping suicidal people, I never called them a burden. Even when it was hard on me. I feel like if you save someone, it's worth however much time you spent. Maybe that's just me. I get there's only so much you can do, and I've told people that before. I've been in that situation, but straight up calling them a burden is probably the worst thing you can do, I feel like. Anyway, right before I went off to college, I found out I had a new health issue that was causing me little to no pain, but looked really bad. I started doing research about it online, and with the way Googling your symptoms goes, I was convinced I was going to die. This led me to start doomscrolling about this new health issue for a few days, thinking I needed to get surgery. I don't know why, but I have a real problem with doom scrolling. The first time I really remember doing it was back in 2020 during the George Floyd protests. I wanted to support the cause, so I spent hours going through and liking posts about it until I ended up with deranged leftists in my timeline who were defending looting. I actually left Twitter for 4 months because of that. Then in 2022 to 2023, when I was trying to figure out my pelvic floor dysfunction, I joined a subreddit called r/chronic epididymitis, which is for people who are diagnosed with epididymitis that didn't go away with antibiotics, usually because they actually have a muscle or nerve issue going on. Subreddit had a lot of useful information on the disorder and stretches you could do to heal it. There was also a lot of negativity and doomerism going on there. A lot of times I would go there looking for resources and end up with panic attacks, reading comments from people who were completely hopeless about their condition ever getting better. I actually ended up having to delete Reddit for a while because of that subreddit. More recently, with my political version of doomscrolling, I found a few things that have helped. I've had to use app blockers a lot and stay on strict mode as much as possible because being able to turn it off within a few clicks is too easy for me to bypass. I've also had to do a lot of algorithm resets every time my social media pages get too much doom and gloom on them. Using extensions like Unhook and Newsfeed Eradicator have also helped me avoid doom scrolling. In fact, I recently installed Firefox on my phone so that I can use those extensions while browsing on mobile because they've been so helpful. It's also frustrating because as I was spending months trying to get away from doom scrolling, YouTube would continue to push doomer videos like this into my feed. So extensions like Unhook have been really helpful to avoid seeing that kind of content. It's also been helpful on Reddit to disable the sidebar so I don't see unrelated political doomer posts that make me spiral really bad. I also found a subreddit called r/political optimism where they try to take a less biased approach to the news and point out where doomers have been wrong. Usually Reddit is completely filled with doomers, but that subreddit is a gold mine to help pull you out of that mentality. It taught me how to actually do more than surface level research and fact check the stuff that I was consuming to make sure it just wasn't, spreading doom. I've also found that I can't call or write my senators super often. I still try to do it occasionally, but I found if I do it too often, I'm basically giving myself permission to doom scroll through the current issues that are going on. I'm not suggesting you bury your head in the sand or anything like that. I still hear and talk about all the major news that's going on. I'm just a lot more careful with what I consume. On top of all that, I've just been trying to make time to work on my hobbies again and do things to make myself feel more comfortable. I've started sleeping in a nightgown dress thing, and that has actually helped calm my anxiety. For a while, I was really scared to dress femme again, even though it makes me feel more comfortable because of all the attacks on trans and gender nonconforming people from this administration. But through therapy and working on myself, I've come to realize I still have the freedom to live the way I want. I've also been trying to maintain some self-care habits so that I hate myself and my body less, which has helped. Still going to be experimenting with my looks as time goes on though. So if you see any major changes in future videos, that would be why. I started on finasteride recently too, after years of being afraid of side effects. And so far things are great. I'm excited for it to start working here in a few months, since hair loss has been one of the biggest contributors to my body dysmorphia. Anyway, that brings us to the present moment. I've been in college again for the last few months, and I'm slowly figuring out how to heal, balance everything, and also find time for myself and my hobbies. Still dealing with the chronic nightmares, but I'm going to therapy and hoping that as I heal my anxiety, they'll slowly go away. Sometimes I can go like 2 weeks without nightmares, which is really nice, but most of the time I get them like at least once a week, and that really sucks. I am considering going on anxiety, like nervous system calming stuff, because of that, but I'm also hesitant to do that because I know I tend to do really bad with antidepressants and like adjacent stuff. Anyway, with that all being said, I'm really sorry for the lack of uploads this past year, but life has been really rough to say the least. I've been slowly trying to heal and get back into things, but it's been a process. Even on the few moments last year where I debated coming back, I was struggling too much with body dysmorphia to even want to record myself again.
There's a couple things I forgot to mention in my original video that I want to go over real fast here. I don't feel like setting up a face cam right now though, so I'll just record the audio and maybe throw some gameplay footage over the top of this. Anyway, another big reason I went offline last year was because I had been really struggling to try to make friends online over 2023 and 2024, and I just got tired of trying. I was mostly using Discord to try to make friends, and I updated my profile picture to this, which is an edited photo of me with a better hairline and eyeliner. I really liked this photo because it made me feel more comfortable with myself, and I've actively been trying to replicate this look because of that. Problem is that Discord is full of degenerates, so a lot of times I would join a new server and just get sexually harassed for my profile picture or even my voice sometimes. I thought it was funny at first, but after a while it really started to bother me. I hated that I was being treated like that for committing the crime of being slightly femme on the internet. I'm still struggling to even want to make friends online again because of that, but I probably should because I have more adventures on apps videos I want to make. I've also been looking at scripts for a lot of old videos I wanted to make, and it just makes me disappointed in myself that I still haven't gotten them out yet. I'm trying to be less hard on myself though, since my constant negativity I had towards myself for my upload schedule has made it even harder for me to want to come back. I just hope people will still be able to enjoy new videos even if they were supposed to come out years ago. It's just been a rough past few years for me in general. That's part of the reason I'm still kind of scared to return. It's been so long since I posted here that I'm worried I'll have people more mad at me for returning than if I just quit entirely. I think I'm also a little hesitant to return to making YouTube videos because I'm clearly playing a character in a lot of my old videos, and while it's fun, it can be a lot to try to maintain that persona all the time, especially because it got me in a lot of drama. I think moving forward, I will probably tone it down a little bit because I remember it being a little exhausting doing that all the time. I'm also not sure how well I can play that character anymore since I've changed so much, but I guess we'll see how things go as I continue to make new videos. I also started a new health program that's supposed to help me get rid of my pelvic floor issues for good, and most of it has to do with calming the nervous system, which is definitely an issue for me. I'm hoping it'll be able to help though once I start doing it consistently. I think that's all for the new update though, so back to the original video, I guess.
I was also struggling a lot with the idea that AI was taking over everything, so I felt like there was no point in making videos because of that. Seeing how much people despise AI though has given me hope that maybe making content is still worth something. I've also recently started working on Raccoon Bandit episode 2 again. I know I said I was going to do that in 2024, and while I started working on it then, I started going downhill mentally before I could really finish much on it. I've actually written out the plot for it, and now I just have to write the last half of the script and do the video editing for it. There's going to be 3 parts total to the series, and hopefully the next one will not have a 7-year gap like this one did. I'm aiming to have the second one out before GTA 6 releases, but I'm also pretty busy with college, so I can't guarantee anything right now. I'm really excited to be back though. I'm going to try and get 2 to 3 videos out before the end of the semester. I'll probably have to tone down the editing on some of my videos, in order to get more of them out, but I hope they'll still be entertaining regardless. I want to make a tribute video for my cat before I do anything else, but after that, I'll have a video testing plastic versus plant-based straws that I've been wanting to do for a couple years now. And then I'll see where I'm at. I know I have 2 videos I want to make about some video comment sections I found that were absolutely wild. I just need to come up with some good titles for them, so if anyone has any ideas for them, that would be great. With that all being said, thank you to everyone who stuck around despite my unexplained hiatus. I really should have updated people better with what was going on, but I always assumed I'd be right back, and then I just kept getting worse. And I've only recently started to get better since then. Anyway, I hope I can be able to build something cool with this channel again, and goodbye for now.